Hi, this is Fritz from JAGMTE.com. Here today to talk to you about the emergency gasket that I have developed, so to speak. I haven't seen it anyplace else, so I took it upon myself to create these to try to deal with some of the problems with the flanges. Here we have the inside of a cap. Let's say your cap starts leaking for some reason. You tighten it up, it's still leaking. What you may run into is the flange may be cracked, and if the crack extends beyond the inside of the gasket retention ring, then the can will start to leak through the crack, because what seals the can is a combination of the gasket and the flange. The flange is what seals the center part, the gasket is what seals against the face of the threads on the can. For this application, we're making believe that that this center ring is still attached to this flange, even though it's not. This is one that got broken off by a gasket, by a rubber gasket that was used for gasoline that swelled up and broke it off. So we'll just have to we'll make believe that that's there. I'll show you. So it's leaking. You look around, you see a little crack. You know you got a problem. So you're going to want to disassemble the cap. You can do it with a big screwdriver, or do it just by pulling on it on the strap to get the flange out of the middle. You'll pull the gasket off. This may or may not be attached anymore. If it's gone, it's down in your fuel can. It's not going to come out your spout. It's no big deal. You can get it later. But I'll show you, for example, on this flange. See the crack? See how the crack goes past the area where the gasket retention ring would have normally been attached? Well, the can will leak through that crack because this is part of the seal. This particular one also has another crack. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's next to the zero that corresponds with the edge. We're very close to the edge of the button on the outside, which is another place that cracks occur and cause the cans to leak. So if you end up with this crack that runs inside that line, or any other damage to your flange that's causing your can not to seal properly, you can use the emergency gasket to deal with that. If you pull a flange out that has a crack in it, but this is not fully removed, you're going to have to remove it. So you're going to have to find a knife and cut as close to the flange as possible so you don't leave a lip on there. You just need a flat surface that the gasket can sit on. The reason for this is because the cap, when you put this back together, the cap slides on top of the backside of the gasket, or the backside of the flange, to put pressure straight down on the seal. It does not catch the seal and try to drag it. So it's best if you can leave the flange in place behind the emergency gasket when you put it back together. The gasket is overcut in size a little bit, so it fits tight inside the cap. And as you can plainly see, that will seal the entire opening of the can in the event of an emergency. This is a very easy thing to carry with you in your repair kit. You can carry one or two of those and be covered in the event that you have a flange failure, which is one of the weak points of the can, during one of your adventures. And if you want to put it back together, obviously you would just put the strap back on with whatever tools you have available, and there you've got a cap set up with the emergency gasket in it. If for some reason your flange is trashed, cracked in half, the button's missing, for some other reason it can't be used, the emergency gasket can be used without the flange. Okay, you're not going to have a button there to reattach your strap, but the cap can still be put back on the can. The threads will go down far enough to seal the emergency gasket all the way down inside the cap, even though there's no flange or no button. But you're going to have to lubricate this before you put it back on. And the most common thing you're going to have in the field to do that would be spit. Might take you and a buddy to get enough spit in there, shove this thing down in there, and then crank it down on the cap, because what you're hoping for is that this side will stop on the flange, and the cap will slide on the back of the gasket as opposed to binding it up in there as you're trying to tighten it up. Those are the basics. Nothing real complicated about it. The emergency gasket. One way to get by if you have a flange problem out in the field.